My First Quilt Show is brought to you by Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil, perfectly suited for every quilt project. Hovels, cut it close with Hovels. Omnigrid, providing quilters with specialty rulers and accessories for over 30 years. Riley Blake, colorful, playful, and sophisticated fabrics that can't help but bring a smile to your face. Hello, I'm Sara Gallegos, and today on My First Quilt Show, we are going to make the easiest baby quilt ever. All you need is a charm pack and some backing fabric, and you have a quick and adorable baby quilt. So this is what we end up with right here. This is one variation where I've sewn all of my charms together. They're 5-inch squares. I've got 7 rows of 5 squares, and I simply put a soft cuddly fabric on the back side and stitched around the outside. So just a really, really simple, basic baby blanket. You can make this really quickly, and it makes a really soft, cozy gift for baby. If you want to go a little bit more advanced with your quilting, this is another variation of the same quilt where I've added a border to it and bound it and quilted it like a regular quilt. So this was kind of fun just to play with different quilting designs in each of the squares, some larger quilting designs and a 4-patch here, and just kind of experimented with quilting. So you can make it simple, or you can do a little bit more to it and make it a little extra dazzly if you want. So the way that you get started with this quilt is with your favorite 5-inch square charm pack. And it's got usually a little more than 40 pieces in it. So you might find that you have a couple of extras that you could work into your backing or just add to your scrap pile. And you want to kind of lay those out so that you aren't putting the same color right next to each other. So you could even kind of stagger the greens, add some pinks in there. And you're just going to keep laying them all out until you get what you think looks nice. You can do it kind of random, but you might find, because they stack the charm packs in order of color oftentimes, that you have a whole bunch of greens right next to each other. So I usually, on this type of a project, will take the time to just lay everything out to make sure that my colors look evenly distributed throughout the entire quilt. Now, it's nice to have a design wall. If you have a place in your home where maybe you could hang some flannel that the fabric will stick to, like a design wall. If you don't have that, you could lay it out on the floor or your kitchen table or even your bed. Just lay those squares out somewhere that you can easily get them to your sewing machine when you're done positioning them. Once you've positioned all of your squares and you're happy with the layout, you're going to start sewing them together in twos. And you want to make sure that you keep your rows together. Get those out of the way. And this is a great time to practice your speed piecing or chain piecing. So I've got 4 extra squares here that are going to match the step outs in the next phase. But when you're working with a charm pack, you typically have a pinked edge. And I like to sew so that the edge of my 1/4-inch seam is right along that pinked edge. I sew with a 1/4-inch foot with a guide on it, and I run the edge of the guide right along the little tips of the pinked edge. And I'm going to just stack and continue on sewing. So here's the first set. And once I get to the end of the seam, instead of cutting my threads and pulling the fabric out, I'm just going to feed the next one right in. And you can continue on as you keep creating your rows. So I've done my 2 pairs. And now I have 2 blocks that are sewn together in a chain. That's why it's called chain piecing. At this point, you would cut the thread in between the 2 segments, and then you can open up your blocks and press your seams to the dark side. And you're going to continue doing this until you build each of your 7 rows of 5 blocks, or 5 rows of 7 blocks, so I think I've got 7 here. So here are the next 2. And once you've got your rows like this, you're going to flip them on top of one another, nest those seams. We learned about that on the last episode. We're going to nest our seams so they lay nice and flat, and then stitch all the way down the row. Okay, now again, if you don't feel comfortable just nesting those seams and holding them together as you stitch, you can always use pins to secure the layers together. But here are my first 2 rows sewn together, and you would just continue adding rows until you have them all stitched together, so you have 40 squares sewn together. So again, it makes the absolute fastest and easiest baby quilt. And you can always find charm packs for boys, for girls, gender neutral, and they're adorable, snuggly, great little gifts. So I hope that you enjoyed this project. Come back and see me next week and we're gonna sew a jelly roll quilt. My first quilt show is brought to you by Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil, perfectly suited for every quilt project. Hovels, cut it close with Hovels. Omnigrid, providing quilters with specialty rulers and accessories for over 30 years. Riley Blake, colorful, playful, and sophisticated fabrics that can't help but bring a smile to your face.